Good evening. Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. My name's Phil. We're live. It's Wednesday night. If you're watching us live, get your questions in, get your comments in. We're going to be joined very, very shortly by Jordan Stewart, who is in somewhere slightly sunny, although I tell you what, it's been gorgeous here in Leicestershire today. He's somewhere slightly warmer. Get your questions into Jordan if you want to ask him anything you want, no holds barred. This is your Leicester Fan TV show. Yes, like I say, good evening. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, you name it. We're live everywhere tonight streaming. So get your questions in as ever. Follow us on Leicester Fan TV. If you get your comments in, if you're watching live, that's great. I can say hello to you, just like Matty Bond, who's watching. Good evening, Matty. How are you? Where are you in the world today, Matty? Peter is watching. Good evening, Peter. Adrian as well. Oi, oi, he says. Mick Bell, how are you, Mick? I was having a little chat with Mick earlier while we were watching a bit of live TV on Facebook earlier. Adrian as well. What's with the subtitles? We can get them in. And John Squires, Dave Felstead, Rob. So many of you getting your comments in. Get your questions in for Jordan. He's going to be with us so shortly. If you're watching this live, please like and share it wherever you are. It really helps us. Retweet it. Give us a love heart, whatever you want. If you're listening back on playback or iTunes or SoundCloud, welcome to the show as well. Let's bring in Jamie live from sunny Spain. Jamie, how are you?
Evening all. How the devil are you? Had to move inside again because the dogs outside are a little bit noisy. So
I thought you were going to say it's too hot out there and you've had to come into the aircon.
It is a bit warm, but the dogs are going a bit mad again. So I thought I'd leave him alone this time. Right, shall we introduce him then? Shall we start bringing him on? Right, Jordan Stewart. He was academy lad. He came in the academy from in July of '98. His first signed pro in March of 2000. He was there for about 5 years. I thought he was there for a bit longer than that. He was there for about 5 years. He left for Watford. 125,000. While he was there, he won the Young Player of the Year in 2000, 2001. He scored the first goal at the Walker Stadium, but we all know Brian Dean thinks he got the first goal, the first official goal. So we'll have to ask him about this. Who he thinks he's got the proper first goal there?
That's the first question. Go on.
Yeah, he played 127 games and he scored 6 goals. So I think we ought to bring him on and ask him about who got the official goal.
Here he is, Jordan. Welcome
Jordan.
to the show.
Before you even go into it, it was me. Okay, it was me.
Well, we had Brian Dean on the other week, and he was saying, "No, it's me. I got the first official goal."
They always told me to respect my elders, so I'll give it to him.
Listen, Jordan. In fairness, you did actually score the first ever goal at the Walker Stadium, didn't you?
Yeah, I scored, and I remember I was doing when I was in Leicester. I think it was last winter. They asked me about it, and I was saying that I remember when Trevor Benjamin tried to steal it off the line. So luckily enough, he was too slow, so I managed to. Especially when it was with the header as well, which is very uncommon for me.
Was it back post header? Wasn't it? Was it a back post header? If I remember rightly, yeah.
Crossed it and then headed it back across the goal. I didn't even technique of heading back across the goal is definitely not me. So I just try to contact it, especially with my head. If I'm sweating, it just skids off normally. So
well, to be fair,
working hard.
we spoke to Big Trev. We spoke to Big Trev in the last show, Jordan, and he didn't try and claim that goal then. Do you think he's let go of that one now?
Yeah, he's probably forgot about it, that's why.
I think he forgot about a few things, to be fair, Jamie.
Oh yeah. He remembered all his celebrations, though, didn't he? He remembered all his celebrations he did.
Yeah, meaning was involved in a couple as well, to be honest.
To be fair, there was a few strange celebrations back there, wasn't there, Jordan?
Yeah, it was a funny time because I remember I was on Twitter the other day and I was talking to Paul Dickov, and I was saying to him that he always used to try and get involved and try and stop me or Benji from celebrating, so it used to be funny.
He wasn't the master of celebrations, Mr. Dickov, then.
No, it was just like Alex Shearer, the one hand one, weren't it?
Just one hand.
Yeah, the one hand was like that. Yeah.
Keep proper old school. None of this Jordan. Would you now be doing? You'd be doing all this stuff. Would you like the Tottenham lads and that?
I don't know.
Mind you, I say that.
I can't do that belly one, so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't do that. No, however.
No,
yeah,
me neither.
like
To be fair, James Maddison, who plays for us now, certainly him and Ben Chilwell have got a few hand gestures going on, haven't they, Jamie?
It's all changed.
well, I don't think it's hand gestures. It's hand celebrations. Let's just get the right words out there, Phil.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You're talking about something different, I think, there.
Yeah.
Taking corners on away games. And it wasn't me though.
Oh dear. I could be serious now. I know. Oh dear. Right, shall I get the ball rolling and ask a proper question now?
Yes.
Right. Hold on a minute. Okay then. Yeah. Sorry. Right, let's go back properly now to when you first started. You've made your debut when you were 17 against West Ham, and then you played against Chelsea in the FA Cup a week later. Being a 17-year-old, what was it like making your first in the Premier League and in the world's best cup competition?
It was surreal, to be honest, because I remember the year before, my first year at YTS. I didn't really have a great first year. Like I was growing at the time, and I couldn't really control my body. Everyone used to call me Bambi, like Dave Nish and Neville Hamilton, rest his soul. Yeah, they always used to make fun of me because I'd always be like slipping over and that. So then going into the second season, I had to kind of progress and then eventually start training with the first team. And then at the time we had probably about 12, 13 injuries. So it was the reserves, me, Danny Thomas, a few of us, Tommy Goodwin. Started training with the first team, and then I remember we travelled a couple of times, and then obviously West Ham at home told me I was in the squad, get in the room, and then my name's on the subs bench. So excited just to be on the bench, and then warming up, and then I remember Steve Wolford called me down to go and warm up, to come on the field. So I remember like jogging down Phil Stewart down the side, and everyone's like, yeah, and like my heart's like in my neck, like super scared. And then like Martin O'Neill was just like, listen, just give me lots of energy. Like, and I used to play midfield there back in the day. So he just said, give me lots of energy, like back and forward. And as soon as I got on, just like everything I'd kind of been worrying about just like vanished. I just started playing. So it was surreal. And then obviously, as you said, week after playing against like Deschamps, George Weah, these type of players, you know what I mean? It was surreal, but at the same time, super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a question here from Andrew. Andrew says, who influenced your career, Jordan? Who was the biggest influence in your career? There's probably a few, but who stands out?
I think footballer-wise, it probably have to be John Barnes when he was at Liverpool. He used to play left wing, and obviously I used to play left wing for my like Sunday team. So I always used to like try and emulate him, like do step over and that kind of stuff. And then as I got a bit older, the Brazilian Ronaldo, like he's still my favorite. I still say he's the best player that's ever played football. So I'll probably say those two. And then obviously my parents, they like took me everywhere, took me to all my training sessions at Bodymore Heath when I was at Aston Villa, and took me to all my games. So without those Saturdays and Sundays, cold or warm, I would never be here today.
Jamie?
And yeah, I was going to say, Andy Meadows has asked the question I was going to ask in a slightly different way. Who's the best manager that you played under at Leicester? I think it was 5, wasn't it? I think it was Martin O'Neill, Taylor. But was it 6?
I think go through the list.
All right. I was going to say Martin O'Neill, Peter Taylor, Dave Bassett, Mickey Adams, and Craig Levine.
But wasn't he like caretaker for a bit?
Oh, he had a bit of a I never thought. I didn't put him down on the list. I forgot about him actually being caretaker at the time.
He didn't really do much, but like.
So, all right then. After the five proper bosses, who was your favourite manager?
Martin O'Neill. I think just his man management. He didn't he hardly took training sessions, but just his presence and his excitement for like if you done well, you'd always feel like the best player. But it was weird because I say that, but in the same breath, you'd be walking down the corridor and a training session, or just after a training session, and just like walk straight past you. He
was an interesting character, was he?
Yeah, like for me, like I love my time with him. And then Peter Taylor as well, because he was kind of different. He was more like buddy. Like I could talk. I felt like I could talk to him more, and he was more of like that the coach feel. Whereas like Martin O'Neill was more of like the manager. Like Saturday is his day kind of thing. So I'd probably say a mix of those two.
Very different techniques between Peter Taylor and Martin O'Neill then, Jordan.
Oh yeah, like I said, Steve Walford used to take most of the sessions when Martin O'Neill was there, and then Martin used to come out probably like the last 30 minutes to watch training. Whereas like Peter Taylor, he'd take a lot of the sessions, and that was obviously new to me. And then we'd do like games and that kind of stuff. So there's a change of like how players perceived each coach or each manager.
Jamie, I've got a question here from Mirko. Mirko watches all the way in Holland. We've both met Mirko down at the King Power. He says, Jordan, what was your highlight in your time at Leicester? What was the best moment?
I'd probably say the season we got promoted after we got relegated, because a number of factors, like we went into administration. There was a lot of scope on the club at the time. Obviously, Gary Lineker came in with his like consortium and helped out, like build the club back up. We just was moving into a new stadium, and then to get relegated, and then to have all that pressure, players deferring money and potential of like people losing jobs around not only the stadium but in the front office as well. So it was kind of important for us to try and get back promoted. So we obviously the club made more money, and just the way we did it was we just from the jump, right, we just kept going. And at first we was having meetings with the PFA, and we were saying, we don't want to do this, don't want to do that. And then eventually we realized how severe it was. So I would say that season kind of stands out for me as well, especially scoring the header against Brian.
Yeah, Rob says 2 promotions, 2 relegations in your time at Leicester. He says favourite promotion season out of the 2.
I think he's just answered that one.
Yeah. I agree, but it was at the time. It was the typical yo-yo Leicester that we all sort of knew for all our watching time.
Yeah, and no one ever wants to get like relegated, but then if you can get promoted straight after it, it's
yes,
right. So at the time it sucks, but obviously getting promoted again, it's always a great feeling.
I know as a fan, there's been some seasons back around that time when we weren't quite. The Premier League seemed a bit too tough for us, and there was times watching some of it as a fan. I shouldn't say it, but I think I'd rather be at the top of the Championship than struggling this much in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think with the Championship as well, there's so many more games. So as a fan, you get to kind of watch your team, and if they're doing well, it feels like you're embracing it more, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie.
Yeah, you scored a few goals for Leicester. You've already talked about the Brighton one. Which one of them goals you scored would be your favourite goal? I think you scored 6 altogether while you were with us.
Probably, it sounds weird, the goal against Rotherham, where I scored with my right foot.
Oh, you're right. Oh, sure, you're going to say the Man City away one.
Oh, well, obviously scoring in the Prem is a big deal, and obviously at Man City and there, I think they'd not long had the stadium at Etihad. But just for me, just if you've ever trained with me or ever like played with me, or people you've asked, like they'll tell you how bad my right foot is. So for me to even attempt to cut inside and to like bend this ball into the top mid, so it's for me, I kind of have to laugh about it. Like if I used to ask me, okay, favorite goal, then I would say the Man City one. But just for me personally, just to be able to score with my right foot, I'd have to say that one against Rotherham.
Joanna asks, what was it like going through the city on a promotion bus?
It was surreal because there's so many people there. Like, and when I was still young, and you don't really know the scope of how much it means to the fans, right? You see them and they're around Leicester. And I used to live in Leicester, but just the joy on people's faces of going through that tough time and then showing everyone that we're going back to the Premier League, it's surreal. And obviously, we was all celebrating, all drinking as well. So it was a great day and night.
A good night, was it, Jordan?
Was it?
Yeah, day and night.
Yeah.
And then day and night.
Yeah.
I just want to take you back about, I think it was about 9 months to the beginning of that season. You played Millwall away at the New Den.
Yeah.
Now, what was it like playing there after what happened in the summer with Dennis Wise? Was it a bit tasty?
Yeah, I remember in the game, like I remember one time I think I tackled Wisey, and then he stumped on me. And I was like,
really?
I was like super angry, and then just from there, it was kind of obviously a big heat from what happened before, right, in the summer. So we wanted to get the win, yeah, but it was one of them ones where it almost felt kind of personal.
Yeah.
Oh, did it?
And then, like I said, I was young at the time, so a lot of the older guys like Matt Elliott and Jerry Taggart and those kind of thing, they was kind of like probably more upset about the whole situation, and maybe I kind of like knew more than them. So I think at the time it just felt more personal. But obviously now it's war under the bridge. Like I don't
it's
know.
History of the club.
Yeah, it's one of them things, and what happened wasn't right. But I don't think you can kind of like dwell on those type of things, and you have to kind of like just take the positives and carry on from it.
I've got quite a few questions for you, Jordan. There's a mix of them from lots of fans. I'll put some on screen while you're answering this. A lot of people want to know about your time. You're in the States now, aren't you? You told us just before we came on. You're in California, aren't you?
Sunny California.
Which isn't, Jordan, is California nicer than Leicester? Come on.
It's sunnier.
Well,
it's been Scorchio today,
isn't it? Steph Oates is in the same place. Steph Oates is in the same place, isn't he? California.
No, he's in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Right.
He's on the East Coast.
Right. Okay.
California's nice. Obviously, there's beaches and that, not too far away, so it's not too bad.
Because you obviously played in what was the MLS, I guess. With now, I'm going to say this wrong. San Jose Earthquakes, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So how did that all occur then? You played over 70 games, I think, for them.
Yeah, it was crazy because I remember this. I think it was the summer of 2012. I was playing in a charity tournament with Dion Dublin and Darren Huckabee, and Huckabee was just saying, "Oh, like what you doing?" And I told him I didn't have a club, and obviously I wouldn't mind going playing in America. And then he had a contact, Frank Yallop, who was the coach at the time at San Jose. So I got his number, reached out to him, and he told me to come over just to kind of have a feel. So I went over for like 10 days, played a couple games for like the reserves, like loved it. Obviously, July, it's super weather, so couldn't complain. And then he tried to sign me, just couldn't agree terms. And then the assistant manager at the time then became the manager the next year. So then he asked if I wanted to come over, and I jumped at the chance because I'd always wanted to kind of finish my career if I could in America, because I always wanted to live here after my career ended in some shape or form. So when I got the opportunity to play, I knew that was going to be like the last leg of my journey. Even though it wasn't a case of being me just going there to be on holiday, it was kind of just the process.
Well, 70 odd games for San Jose, and then Phoenix, which I take it, is that in Phoenix?
Yeah, so San Jose is in California and Phoenix is in Arizona. So I thought I was going to retire after I left San Jose, and Frank Yallop was then the GM at Phoenix. Told me to come down. It was luckily when they have the Waste Management Golf Tournament, which is like one of the biggest tournaments in America, over like 200,000 people over the weekend. So he kind of wooed me that way, and then probably like just as I was getting on my flight, he says, "Oh, so you want to sign?" after 3 or 4 days in Scottsdale, I was already willing to sign for free.
Fantastic.
Just going back to your Leicester bit, Chris Cambiasso Ball, I think he's a fan of the Magic Man. He says, under Peter Taylor, what was the feeling in the club when Roberto Mancini came in? That must have been, having a player like him must have been absolutely fantastic to train with.
He wasn't there for too long, was he? I think he was only.
It was
5 games.
It was
like
with
5 games or something like that. Yeah, for me, like I'd always known they'd been a great player. I think maybe he struggled with like how maybe the Premier League or maybe Leicester was at the time. Maybe things were different. Because reading back, I remember him saying he's still from that experience. That's why he loved the Premiership. But maybe just on a sideline kind of role rather than actual playing. So
I methink because was he living with Bobby Savage? Is that right? Did he live with Bobby Savage?
I don't know, but that if he was, that explains a lot of things.
I've read something or heard something. He lived with Bobby Savage to start off with, and I was thinking, God, that must be a nightmare living with him.
Yeah. So imagine them two fighting over the brush.
But what was it like to play in Greece? Just talking about, you've been in the States, you've played in Greece. I can't pronounce the name of the team. I've tried, but I can't pronounce it.
Skoda Xanthi is their name.
Skoda Xanthi.
Yeah,
that was turmoil there a bit, wasn't there?
Yeah, because it was just as the economy was kind of like spiraling, especially like with Greece and Spain and Portugal and those kind of type of countries with the euro. So, like in the beginning, it was fine, and then I think it was after Christmas, like we stopped getting like paid on time, and then we'd have to, if we wanted to leave the town and go to like say to Athens or whatever, we'd have to go to like the sporting director to get like permission. I can't remember how old I was at the time. I'm a big man. Like I'm not gonna be asking someone if I can like
go out.
Here. Like I'm 12. I asked my mom, can I go to the shop to get of pair drops?
Yeah.
So it was good. Like Greece is a place, like food, the people, like the place was fantastic, but just the way the kind of setups ran, and obviously you hear a lot of stories of people going to Greece or Cyprus or those type of countries. It's some way, shape or form, it doesn't work out, and it's mostly financial.
Yeah. I've got a question, pulling it back again. Rob asks, a simple question for you, Jordan. Filbert Street or the Walkers Stadium?
I'd probably say Walkers, probably because I played more games there, so it just felt more like home. Whereas like Filbert Street just reminds me of like being a YTS and sleeping at the change rooms after even when I was playing, I'd have to play the game, and then I'd have to help like Paul McCann.
Really?
Paul McCann still there now. Did you kind of like sweep up and help out, dry the kit and all that?
And did you have a senior pro that you had to like look after? Is that how their apprenticeship sort of work? Used to clean the boots and that?
I had Larry Dudfield, and who else did I have? I can't remember his name. I had two of the young pros. I had Larry Dudfield.
Right.
I think I had a meal for a year.
Neil Lennon.
I remember it used to be funny because we'd obviously, before the pros got in, we'd obviously clean, make sure the boots are dry and put them by their place. And sometimes the pros would come in and you hear someone's name get called, obviously swearing at the time, and like throwing the boots back and saying the boots ain't clean or they're dry, they're too dry. It's a process, man. And it's, for me, it was good because even when I was even say, for instance, when I was going to the Chelsea game after I'd already played against West Ham, I'd be on the bus, but I'd have to start at the front and work my way all the way back to see if anyone want tea or coffee. So obviously, by the time I got to the back, like the coaches and at the front wanted another one. So I was like,
T-boy.
I was constantly like up and down, like just serving drinks, and then after the game,
even though you're going to play.
Yeah. Which for me, I felt like it helped, and because a lot of the guys were probably like in their early 30s, so they kind of gave me guidance. I used to live in the same complex as Brian Dean, so he was kind of my mentor at the time. So I had all these like great people around me to kind of like help educate me of how football works, not only on the field but also off it. So I had a good foundation of people to help me along the way, especially at Leicester.
Is that missing a bit, do you think, in the modern game, Jordan? The fact that young lads now who are 14, 15, 16, sometimes when they're 15 or 16 and never played a first team game, they've effectively almost made it financially.
Yeah, it's difficult. I don't want to say it's right or wrong, but I just think you learn a lot from that process. It's kind of like over in America, right, where you have these kids at high school going to college and they're always told they're the best. So when they get to the pro level, everyone has that ego already. Whereas for me, I wasn't able to have that ego, because in the day I'm still sweeping the floor, even if I scored or whatever. So you always feel more grounded. So I wouldn't say it's right or wrong, but just for me, it felt like it was a good educational experience.
Yeah, Jamie?
Yeah, I was going to say, Brad's asked a question. You had a couple of injuries while you were at Leicester. One of them was dislocated your shoulder. He's just asking, did you ever get over that, or do you still have problems with it now?
So I had surgery on both shoulders. I did my first one against Fulham, and the one where you're saying against Norwich. I remember it was my left one. I just went to try and nick the ball in front, and just literally popped out, and I knew straight away. Then had surgery straight away. I think I was out for like 3 months. And then when I went to Watford, it used to come out a couple of times, and then I used to just wear like a strap. But over time, just doing a bunch of exercises, it was fine. I kind of like found out how to like do the judo roll and all that kind of stuff. So instead of just pushing that straight. So
Andrew asks you, are you still working in football? And if not, what are you up to at the moment, Jordan?
So I'm working on a few things. My friend Nick Swinman, who's the founder of Zappos that I met during my time at San Jose Earthquakes, he has a business and has a few different concepts. One, obviously, Supervillains, which is kind of a platform for apparel partnerships, whether it's with esports or traditional sports, and we kind of like embrace the villains in all sport. Prime example, someone like Michael Jordan. Like if he wasn't on his team, everyone hated him, but if he was on his team, you loved him. Someone at Leicester probably would be like Robbie Savage. Like everyone always just say, "Oh, Robbie Savage, like we hate him," but if you know him and you're around him, like he's a great person to be around. And we kind of embrace that and kind of showcase that you don't have to be this clean cut person to be successful. And yeah, you might be a bit different, but you can still find your own path with kind of just being yourself and kind of growing as a person, rather than just thinking that you have to be some type of way to gain into the pro world.
What were you saying before we came on? Something about heroes and villains. You need a villain to make a good hero as well.
You need a super villain to ultimately have a hero, right? So we're all super villains in our own way, shape, or form.
One or the other.
So super villains, and obviously dozen boxing, which is it used to be a gym, but now because of the COVID stuff, we're turning it into an online platform. So those are the two main things we're focused on at the minute.
Fantastic. Okay, Jamie.
My mate's going to kill me because he always says, "Why don't you ask a question that I put on?" So Pete McIntosh. So you've got this one, Pete. Who was the hardest player that you've played against in any of your time?
Robert Perez when I was at Leicester. I remember it was my full debut. Pete Taylor was the manager. We was playing 3-5-2, and I was playing left wing back against Lauren and Perez. And I remember at half time, it was one of the hottest days, first of all, of the year. And then I remember at half time, I felt so like dizzy and just disorientated. I had to like put my feet in like a cold bucket of water and have like Dave Rennie, who's still the physio there, and told him to like bring me a bunch of jelly babies just to eat. Them two was just running rings around me, like looking over my head. I think I was on Showboat the next week. So
like what against you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely wasn't me in the Showboat.
And also, where were you, or what did you feel when Leicester won the Premiership? Were you in America, or were you back over here, or back over the UK?
Yeah, no, I was in America. It was kind of, for me, I was because people was always asking me because my affiliation with Leicester. They were saying, "Do you think they're going to do it?" And I was saying, if they can get up to Christmas and then get that period out of the way and still be at the top, I think they can do it. I still think they had like a smaller squad compared to rest, but if everyone could stay fit during that period, then I think they could do it. And obviously, ultimately, they did, which was fantastic for obviously the players, the club, and also the talent, right? The city, Leicester. So it's for everyone involved, and just knowing players and people there, it was huge. So yeah, it was a great feeling.
I've got two last sort of questions for you here. One of them is from me, which is how painful was it to pull on the Derby County shirt, Jordan? Because it would hurt me.
Well, I wasn't from Leicester, so
I know.
I was obviously West Midlands compared to East. And during my time at Derby, it started off great, but then when Nigel Clough came in, it went from bad to worse. So,
so we'll leave that one there. Andrew does ask. He said, I think we know the answer to this, but he says, "Who do you actually support? Who's your club? Is it Villa?
Chelsea.
Oh, is it
Villa.
Chelsea?
Oh, Chelsea.
Villa.
We thought you were a Villa fan.
No, after they sent me a letter as a 16-year-old saying I've been released.
Oh, did they?
There you go. That's why.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, growing up, it was like I said, John Barnes. So I used to like watch a lot of Liverpool, and then when I started playing, I didn't really support a team. And then when I turned pro, I remember the first time we played Chelsea. And, well, not one of the first times, but there's a certain time when we played Chelsea and Drogba was playing, and I think he scored a hat-trick, and I was like, didn't really know much about this guy, and I was like, this guy, he seems like same kind of build as me, maybe a couple inches taller, but he was just ragging people around.
Beast, isn't he?
Yeah. So from there, I kind of like started watching him, and then just snowboarded into being a Chelsea fan.
Fantastic. You didn't get his shirt that day, Jordan?
I was going to ask.
I've got his shirt, but I don't think it's from that game. I probably got some, so I didn't have a chance.
Did he take your shirt?
I've still got all mine at home. If anyone wants to
Steph Oakes said exactly the same thing. He said, "Oh, I asked them for theirs, but they did." I said, "Do you want mine?" He went, "No, you're all right," and just walked off. That's what Steph said.
Yeah, I never even took mine off to the offer. I was like, who's this guy? Number 57.
Andy, we'll just about sneak this question in. Andy Medhurst says, "Do you want Liverpool to win the league?" I guess this is a bit like, are you hopeful that Premier League's going to be finished this season?
I hope the Premier League finishes. I'd rather Chelsea win than Liverpool, to be honest. But if Liverpool do win, it'll be great. They've got a great team. I love the manager there. I think he's a great man manager. So if they do win it, they deserve it. They play exciting football. Them and Man City have, for the past few years, they've kind of took it to another level, basically.
Are you reading Kenny's?
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
You read it. Go on. You read it out.
Well, Kenny says, "Jordan, have you not had a birthday since 2000? Because you haven't aged a bit, mate. Is it that California? Is it the sun? Is it what lotion are you using? Come on, talk us through your health regime."
I'm not aged mentally either.
Well, that's probably a place to leave it. I'm still thinking about hand celebrations, and we best not get back into that. Oh yes.
That's a good one.
That's what you meant. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Let's not go there again.
No, let's not go there. Let's not go. The fans, Jordan, the Leicester fans have loved having you on. Could you just say before you go, hello to Mason, who is Brad Hunt's son?
Hello, Mason. I hope you had a good time watching and listening to us old people speak about sport. His lad's probably going, "What? Who? 2000?
Who was that? 2000?
That's 12 years before I was born."
Yeah, who's that Rummy talking? I can't understand it.
Yeah.
Brilliant, Jordan. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Good luck with Super Villains and everything you do. We'll make sure we like and share some of that as well. Leicester fans, have you got a Twitter that you want to shout out for people, or Facebook page for them to go and follow your stuff?
Yeah, I've got Facebook, supervillains.gg. Go and take a look, and does unboxing. I think the site's not up yet, but it will be start of June. So check those out.
Super Villains.
Super Villains. I think that's why everyone thought it was the Aston Villa fan with Super Villains on. Yeah.
Villa. No, brilliant. All right.
Brilliant, Jordan. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks, Jordan.
Much appreciated. Thanks a lot, pal.
Thank you. Stay
safe. Thank you. Cheers.
Will.
Absolutely brilliant to have Jordan on there.
Another brilliant.
Fantastic. He's a great lad, isn't he?
These, how would you call it? These young, old players.
Young, old players.
Yeah. Jordan, Trevor, Steph Oakes. They've been absolutely fantastic, haven't they? Some of the stories and comments they've come out with is brilliant.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm still going after his... Go on.
Yeah. Pete McIntosh, Macca, he just said, cracking show. I've got you commenting eventually, Macca, so you keep watching from now on. We do read people's comments out.
Thanks a lot. Danny says, great show. What a guy. Very funny. Rob says, thanks. A taste of home.
He's still in Equatorial Guinea, isn't he?
Yeah, he's stuck out there. And Chris
Yeah.
Ball is saying great show as ever. So does Mirko. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks, Jamie. Who's up next?
Next week, we've got a bit of an old school, Phil. I think it's even a little bit before our time, or just when we started. It's Neil Grucock. He played with Alan Young. He played with Gary Lineker. He had a bit of top. No, he didn't play with Keith Weller. He was there with Jock Wallace. So we've got a bit of an old school show next Wednesday night for you.
Proper old school. I can remember that time, Jamie. I know I don't look that old, but I am.
It must be the Alcudia's son that makes me look young. Doesn't he look young though? Doesn't he not? It doesn't look like he's aged.
He's not. Like me, just like me, Jamie. Anyway, thanks, Jamie. Yeah, I'll leave it there. We'll see you next week.
See you all later.
Cheers, Jamie. Thanks for sorting that. Bye. Now, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for getting all your comments in as ever. Really enjoyed chatting there with Jordan Stewart. Don't forget to go and follow us on at Leicester Fan TV on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Periscope, Twitter. We're on them all. And as ever, don't forget, thanks to these guys for helping do what we do, which is emergency glazing services, Pink Vehicle Leasing, Tiger Beer by Everard's, ADT Taxis, Peter's Pizzas, the Fox's Arms, Hologram, Harlow Geek Life, and the charity that we support, which is Bodie Hodges. Mostly, thanks for all you guys for watching. My name's Phil. Please like and share this. This is Leicester Fan TV. See you next time.